We've been talking about the fact that the church is being built by Jesus in the midst of Babylon. And the challenge is, can the church keep Babylon out of the church? Can we remain a separate people? So, let's go to Genesis chapter 10. And we're reading from verse 8. Now Cush became the father of Nimrod. He was the first to be a mighty man on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, and therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. Verse 10, the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. Erech, Akkad, Calneh, in the land of Shinar, in Babylonia. So what we see is that there's a man called Nimrod, and he becomes a mighty man in the earth. He is a mighty hunter, and he sets up a kingdom in the land of Babel. So, let's go to chapter 11, and let's look at the development of this kingdom. Now, we are in chapter 10 and chapter 11, and this is the beginning of the nations after the flood. And so, it's interesting that God has given us this history, because I will show you how history comes full circle. As we look to the future and we look to the last days, we will see similarities. Alright? So, chapter 11, verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one accent and mode of expression. Now, there is a cry that is coming out of the heart of humanity, and it has crept into the church, and it's a cry that calls for unity. Unity has become very, very important in society today. And unity is going to continue to grow in importance as we get nearer and nearer to the end. Understand this. But understand this. This unity is actually becoming idolatrous. Well, why am I saying that? Well, unity is becoming more important than what we unite around. Okay? For example, when you think of something called ecumenism. Ecumenism is the unity of all religions for the sake of unity. Okay? And what's happening is, please understand this, church, what's happening is that we are experiencing desperate times globally. Okay? Mankind is getting to the place where they are running out of resources. They're running out of every kind of plan and system and abilities and everything that man would have tried to live and survive on in the past. These resources are becoming more and more limited. Now what this means is that mankind is becoming more and more conditioned and more prepared for a modern day Nimrod. The name of that Nimrod is the Antichrist. Okay. The world is preparing for the Antichrist now. So when he arrives, he will be received. Why? Because there will be a similar mindset that you've got here in chapter 11. The whole earth was of one language and of one accent and mode of expression. And that's got nothing to do with God. Understand that? Okay, you can have unity without God. Yes. Which is a very dangerous thing. Alright? So let's see. So verse 2, as they journeyed eastward, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they settled and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, "Come, let us make bricks, and let's burn them thoroughly." And so they had brick for stone and slime for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build us a city and a tower whose top reaches into the sky. And let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the whole earth." Isn't that interesting? So we learn something now. There is a unity, but this unity is based on fear. If we do not stand together, we will be scattered all over the earth. And we don't want to be scattered. We want to stay together. They don't ask God about this. I mean, they're busy possibly reflecting, and they're saying, this is what some commentators have said, they're saying, that God flooded the earth. What stops God flooding the earth again? Maybe we should build a city and a tower that is so high that it can survive another flood. Possible reason. Why? Because when you are afraid, listen church, when you are afraid, you don't think rationally. When you are afraid, all you're thinking is of survival. We are in that time today. Fear is ruling the hearts of many people. Fear has even crept into the hearts of Christians. That's why when the Antichrist comes and he offers global solutions, trust me, the church will run with the world and take part and accept and come under the authority of the Antichrist. Well, what you don't read here is about Nimrod. At the moment, you're reading on the heart, the mind, the attitude of the people. But trust me, these people were like a bunch of sheep. Have you heard of sheeple? That's us. We are sheeple. Jesus said that we are sheep without a shepherd. Well, let me tell you something. Nimrod was no shepherd. He was a mighty hunter. So what did he do? He gathered all of these like-minded people together, and he became the king over Babel. Now listen very carefully. Kings without God rule with fear. without God. Another word for a king is a despot. Another word for a king is a dictator. There was no democracy here. Okay? There was this united mindset. Now the king comes and he controls. He dominates. He orders. He employs. And he sets up his kingdom. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And look at the modern day of Nimrod. Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. Let no one deceive or beguile you in any way, for that day will not come, except the apostasy comes first, unless the predicted great falling away of those who have professed to be Christians has come, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, who is the son of doom of perdition, who opposes, exalts himself so proudly, insolently against and over all that is called God or that is worshipped, even to taking his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming that he himself is God. So the modern day Nimrod is going to capitalize on this global mindset that mankind is becoming desperate. They don't know what to do. He's going to gather them together. He's going to set himself up as God in the temple, and he is going to start to build his own kingdom. And the Antichrist will know nothing about democracy. The Antichrist will be a despot. He will be a dictator. He will be a dominant figure. And he will rule with fear. He will use the beast who's got the mark, and anybody who does not have that mark will be killed. That's what's coming. Now, the spirit of Antichrist is here. Now we need to discern. We need to listen to what the Spirit of God is saying. In the world today, the spirit of Antichrist is operating through presidents. Where? Well, first of all, it's the spirit of Antichrist behind any dictatorship. Understand that? Satan is not into democracy. He is a despot. He is the original Nimrod. Alright? So the spirit of Antichrist is operating around the world and is operating through dictators, despots, dominant rulers, especially where these dictators forbid Christianity. Right from the top, the law goes out. There will be no Christianity in this nation. You're dealing with the spirit of Antichrist operating through. Now, this is what you're dealing with as well. The spirit of Antichrist has permeated democracies. A president is not supposed to be a dictator. He's not supposed to be a despot. He's not supposed to be dominant. He's supposed to be a president. You know what president means? A presider over a democracy. If you study government, there's a cycle of government without God. First of all, you get a democracy without God. This cycle, they reckon, lasts for about 200 years. After democracy without God, you get something called anarchy. Why? Because the people want to rule and they don't want God to be their final, they don't want the word of God to be the final authority. They don't want Christianity in that nation. And eventually anarchy takes place and the country or the nation becomes ungovernable. That's anarchy. When you are in a state of anarchy, it means there's been a collapse of your systems, your emergency systems, your security systems, your health systems. Everything is starting to collapse and you're in a state of anarchy. It won't be long before there'll be the rising up of a despot. One man is going to look at this anarchy and say there has to be order. And so he's going to rise up. He will declare martial law. He will involve the military and he will take over the nation. There's many examples of this. Now you have a dictatorship. Now you have a Nimrod busy ruling. But he rules without God. So he's oppressive. And he rules with fear. And he murders anybody that rebels against him. And an underground movement begins called the resistance movement. And it won't be long before there's going to be a revolution. And there'll be an uprising and an overthrow of the despot. And guess what? You end up with a democracy. That's the cycle. Go and study it. That's how governments operate without God. But Satan, he is a despot. Nimrod was a despot. The Antichrist is going to be a despot. And the gullible world and many in the church are going to follow. All right. And Christians, if the rapture is not taking place and the mark is forced on you, you'll take the mark out of fear. God help us when that day comes. All right. Now, go to Matthew chapter 4, verse 8. This is one of Jesus' temptations. Matthew chapter 4, verse 8. Again, the devil took him, that's Jesus, up on a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world. I want you to see that. The devil took him up on a high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world. And the glory, the splendor, magnificence, preeminence, and excellence of them. And he said to him, these things, meaning kingdoms, all taken together, I will give you. I will give it to you if you will prostrate yourself before me and do homage and worship me. Only way that Satan could offer all these kingdoms to Jesus is that he has them in his possession. It doesn't matter what kind of despot rises up and rules over any nation, Satan's ruling anyway. But when a despot rises up, Satan can do far more in that nation. When a democracy is busy governing a nation, Satan is hindered in some ways. even more so if that democracy would choose God. But he has free reign through a despot. And listen, that is why Nimrod was able to succeed and to have the city built. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 11. Despots can be very productive. They can be very effective without God. Without God. Look here. Verse 5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, behold, they are one people, they have one language. This is only the beginning of what they will do, and now nothing they have imagined they can do will be impossible for them. So God understands that when a people under one king decide that they are going to build a city, they're going to build a tower, they are going to accomplish what they plan to do, even if God never told them to do it. And God says, let's go down and there confound, mix up, confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So what God's will is here, church, is in verse 8. So the Lord scattered them abroad from that place upon the face of the whole earth, and they gave up building the city. So, when the scattering took place, the result was that the nations got built. Because God wasn't only wanting one nation, one city, one tower reaching the heavens. God wanted nations all over the world. So he made sure that man-made building plans, organized by a despot, did not come to fruition. All right. So, now, let's see what Jesus had to say. In Luke 22, verse 24. Jesus is speaking on behalf of his Father. Luke 22, verse 24. Okay. Now, in verse 24, an eager contention arose among them, which was the disciples, which of them was considered and reputed to be the greatest. I mean, yes, Jesus is surrounded by these disciples, and the disciples are involved in a power struggle. That's human nature. I've seen that. In the church, in pastors' leadership meetings, there's this power struggle that's going on. Watch what Jesus says. He says, verse 25, the kings of the Gentiles are deified by them and exercise lordship, ruling as emperor gods over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors and well-doers. So what is Jesus talking about? He's talking about the despot governmental structure among the Gentiles. The kings, There was no democracy. Kings, they ruled, they dominated, they controlled, and they did it by fear. From the top down. So what were the disciples busy struggling about? They were saying, who is the one who's going to be in charge? Who's going to be made king over this little group of us? Verse 26. But this is not to be so with you. Here's the standard, church. In the flood of power struggles around the world, in the flood of where the Antichrist, the spirit of Antichrist operating through despots and dictators, in the flood where the spirit of Antichrist has penetrated democracies, and presidents today are behaving more like dictators than presidents. Here's the standard. But this is not to be so with you. On the contrary, let him who is the greatest among you become like the youngest, and him who is the chief and the leader like one who serves. At that point, the despot resigns. I didn't join this group to serve. I joined this group to rule. Watch verse 27. For who is the greater? The one who reclines at table, the master, or the one who serves? Is it not the one who reclines at table, but I am in your midst as one who serves? And the most awesome example of this is there at the Last Supper. Normally a waiter, an attendant, a servant will be standing at the door to wash the disciples' feet, but he wasn't at the door. It's like, I don't know, maybe Jesus told him not to come that day. And Jesus gets up, and he takes up that position at the door. Then he says, now go and wash each other's feet. Not literally, he meant go and serve as I have served you. Amen? Now watch. Now watch this. Verse 28. You are those who have remained throughout and persevered with me in my trials. And as my Father has appointed a kingdom and conferred it on me, so do I confer on you the privilege and the decree, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Now this is where the church misses it. Come on. I'm going to show you that first of all, Jesus is talking about the kings of the Gentiles, and he says that they are the ones that are dominating, they're the ones that are ruling, they're the ones that are controlling. It shall not be like that with you. You are going to be serving. And then he says, I have a kingdom for you. Now watch. Do you understand what he was saying? You need to go to Matthew 19 verse 28. Now you have to read the harmony of the Gospels. You have to read the full spectrum. Otherwise you're going to miss it. Alright? Now watch. Matthew 19 verse 28. And if those that are operating in the church today are preaching and practicing dominion theology, a kingdom now doctrine, then they really need to read this. Because this will blow their doctrine right out of the water. Watch here. Jesus said to them, truly I say to you, in the new age, the messianic rebirth of the world, when the Son of Man shall sit down on the throne of his glory, you who have become my disciples, sided with my party and followed me, will also sit on 12 thrones and judge the 12 tribes of Israel. So he's talking about the future. He's talking about when he returns. And that's important to understand that. Because if Jesus was saying that the kings of the Gentiles are ruling and dominating and controlling, but it shall not be like that with you. You will be serving, and I give you a kingdom, and you'll be sitting on thrones, and then you will judge. There's a dispensation of serving. There's a dispensation of serving before there's going to be the ruling. Come on. It's clear to see. Well, let's continue. In Matthew 16:18, you know the verse so well. Jesus said, I will build my church. I will build my church. The word church is ecclesia. I will build a people called out of all the nations of the world. I will build a people called out from under all of the nations that have been ruled by kings, by presidents, by all kinds of governmental authorities. I will call them out, and I will build my church. Notice what he says there. I will build my church. He never said, I will build my kingdom. I'll build my church.